Bet you guys will never guess which one is the female. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Islands of Wanyama, Episode 8. I'm yoyosmugglerr, and it's great to have you guys back. So real quick before we get into the time-lapse here, just want to touch up on a few things. Since our last episode, the ending was a little bit of a disaster with these flamingos, I went ahead and checked a few things, and there was a couple things going on that I didn't know. So for instance, like I said, I thought the settings that I had turned off, death and viruses or whatever, but I had not, so that's why the flamingos were dying, was from disease from the habitat not being cleanly. And basically the reason why this habitat is not cleanly, I still can't get it. I went back and changed a few things. I just spent about an hour or two fixing, or not fixing, but trying new things and just trying to see if I could you know, solve the issue. But essentially the problem is that, so let's zoom out here. You may notice there's a little bit different lake from last time. I had to completely redo this lake just because the water was not wanting to work with me. But basically this whole lake area is their habitat. So I'm not sure if like it's being diseased because like they're pooping all the way out here, because there is poop under the water. And I'm pretty sure the keepers can't get out there and clean it. So that's probably why that they're being diseased. So it's not necessarily anything that we can control with this habitat being just that big. It's just going to be one of those things where we either, you know, make the habitat smaller and put like a fat barrier in here, like going right across here, or we just deal with the habitat not being clean. And I'd rather not throw that barrier in there. So that's where we're at with that. So I just kind of want to touch up on that because I know previously I'd said that I would like to have my animals at 100% welfare, or you know, get there as close to it as we can with it still being realistic and the zoo looking nice. So yeah, as you can tell, it's a little bit different from last time. I went ahead and threw in this little rock area with the mirror. I think that's what it's called. I don't know what it's called, but the little mirror enrichment, whatever thing, and then I threw in just a sprinkler over here as well, just to get the enrichment needs up. Threw a little bit of foliage in over here, as well as over here, and around the base of the lighthouse, just to give it a little bit green, just break up the sandiness of it all. So this, like I said, this isn't 100% done quite yet, just because, you know, we're gonna have, as soon as I start working over here and then working on this side as well, that's when this lake will start to take more of a shape, and just kind of we'll get an idea of where we want to go with the zoo. Went ahead and threw some rocks over here. These are just very, very quickly placed in, just because those were like little escape points for the flamingos. I don't think that they were able to escape, just because they did swim over there, but they didn't actually get out. As soon as they were placed in, they darted over, so you can see there's this shallow area for them, but they darted straight from here to here, and then once they got here, they swam, and it took them forever because they swim so slow. It took them forever to get over here to try to escape. But yeah, so they weren't able to actually escape, but I went ahead and just threw some rocks in there just in case, because didn't feel like messing around with the water again after an hour or two. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So like I said, basically everything is at 100% except for the cleanliness and the hard shelter. So once again, like I said last time, we may go ahead and throw in some hard shelter over here, or what I'm thinking is that we throw some hard shelter on the backside here, because this is all going to be like backstage stuff. So we may throw in a hard shelter back here that they can access. So that's why I want to have this little river kind of flowing back here. That's my idea of it. That way they can go in there once it gets cold or something like that. But yeah, everything else is at 100%, except for the plants. Apparently there might be a plant or whatever that doesn't necessarily belong here, but 99% is still good. Let's see, nutrition, last meal quality. Well, we'll have to go in there and check that out. Like I said, I just kind of bare bones with this. I know we can go ahead and update that, can't we? I'm not sure. That'll be something I'll do off camera. You know, just wanted to kind of touch base with that then, since all of our flamingos were dying. But I think we got about like 24 flamingos or something in here though, and we got diseases turned off so they won't die. But yeah, very happy with this little habitat. Like I said, still not 100% done yet. We still got to do some foliage and all that, and still shape up this outer area edge here. But this little beach area, I'm quite happy with for the moment. It'll just be something that we come back and touch up on here and there. So yeah, let's go ahead and we'll dive right into the time lapse. Alright here, so we're going to go ahead and start the time-lapse off with the building of our first bridge between islands. So this is going to connect our main central area into our Asian area here. And we're actually going to base this, just the base of this bridge off of a bridge, I believe, in... It's in China, I know that. I couldn't find a whole lot of information about it once I actually found the image. You know, I was just kind of doing some basic Google searching here, and found this really cool looking bridge, so I wanted to base it, you know, off of that. And so I was trying to, you know, once I knew the name of the bridge, or I didn't know the name of the bridge, but once I knew the location of the bridge, I tried, you know, Googling it off the location of the bridge itself, but I couldn't find anything. So the only thing I could find was a picture on a Photoshop that they want you to buy it from. But basically what the description is it states it is a traditional Chinese bridge crossing a water canal into the entrance of Luzhai ancient town in Suzhou, Jiangsu Province, China. Probably butchered those names a little bit, but yeah, so that's going to, that's basically going to be what that's based off of there. So you just see me do the base of the actual bridge itself. I go ahead and throw on some fencing and roof after the time lapse. Right now we're just doing the circular motion, so that way we can get that, that nice little arcing of the bridge, so that way we can throw that on for the support. Really love that technique of just doing that 360. I almost made a mistake into the whole thing. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna need to do this whole thing around here, so we just go ahead and delete that. Make sure, you know, once I knew that it was the right size, we delete it and get rid of it. Just slide it on down there. We just go ahead and throw in some support beams too, just basing it off of the actual support beams in real life, just because I have no idea how these bridges are actually supported. I think the central beam looks a little off, just because all the other beams are basically on top of the bridge or the arch there, and the central beam is the only one underneath it, so it looks a little off to me, but that's how it is in real life. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it in for realism's sake, just because, like I said, I have no idea how these are actually structured. It's a really cool looking bridge though in real life, and so I really happy with how we happy with that we went with this type of bridge here, just because it kind of sets the tone for the area that you're walking into, and I just really kind of like the vibe that it gives off. It wasn't anything too over the top. It was still subtle, but it still gave you you know that hint that you're definitely stepping into an Asian themed area for the moment. Yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and throw on some borders now. They're just some basic borders, just to try to give it a little bit more of an edge. We go ahead and just duplicate them on both sides here. Turn it all white in just a second once we get it all lined up. And then unfortunately that's where I cut the time lapse off after I get these borders down, just because I went back and forth on what kind of fencing I wanted to do and if I wanted to throw on a roof or not, because in real life that has a roof, but I kind of wanted to leave it open, but it just kind of looked too empty without having a roof on it, just because you don't really get to see the Chinese architectural support bridge there from like the guest point of view when you're walking from the little entrance plaza. So I went ahead and threw on a roof in the end there, just because like I said, I wanted it to be obvious where we were going with it. So you can see the bridge off there to the right a little bit. It's still not 100% done, and I'll show you guys in the real-time portion as well once we get there. But yeah, still not 100% done. I think we need to add on a little bit more detail before we put the finish stamp on. but let's go ahead and we'll talk about what we're seeing on screen now. So this is actually going to be our first animal habitat in the game. So I know we're about 3 weeks into the Planet Zoo launch now. We're finally getting around to like our first exhibit or habitat, whatever you want to call it. So I know we technically have peafowls already, and we have the flamingos off there. But I just don't technically see those as like our real first habitats. Just because they're kind of like in open areas and there just haven't been much going on with those habitats, and they've just kind of been like filler animals, you know, just to try to get them in there and just to make sure that, you know, see how the game's running and all that, really. So this is really what I consider our first habitat. But let's go ahead and we'll talk about what we're seeing on the screen right now. So this really cool piece of architecture is based off of the Stilted buildings in southwestern China. They're actually called, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, so bear with me, but I believe it's pronounced Dao Shao Lu buildings, which means hanging attics, and they are essentially residential housings in southwest China. So basically, they're typically built on like slopes, and they're only supported with like wood pillars and no foundation at all. So they're built off of the sides of cliffs or mountains. And they, you know, sometimes are above water as well, if not both. So that's why I went ahead and we threw it off of a cliff, and then we had this perfect lake right next to it. So I was like, you know, we're gonna go ahead and make it a cliff, and we're gonna do it over some water. But yeah, so like I said, basically built with all wood pillars and no foundations at all. It's made of 100% wood and no iron also, which absolutely blows my mind because these things look so unsturdy in the pictures that I was able to find. And it's just kind of mind-blowing that these were actually made, and the pictures that they're in, I mean, the cliffs are pretty steep. It's not like, you know, just like a runoff cliff or anything like that. There's just a lot of bamboo poles just sticking up at the bottom of it. It's kind of wild. It's really impressive. So when I saw that, was doing some research on you know, buildings and architectural styles in China, I saw that and I was like, I just have to do it for this habitat that we got going on here. But yeah, so they're typically 2 to 3 stories. Ours is 2 stories just so we don't get too tall and too out of scale. But typically the first floors of the buildings are used for livestock and or storage, like equipment or any other type of storage. And also they live on the second floor, and that's mostly due because it typically has better lighting, and it also keeps them away from dangerous animals at night, such as like snakes and, you know, dangerous insects that may be poisonous or anything like that. So yeah, so pretty neat. Essentially what happened was back in the day, ancient Chinese pioneers, when they moved from northern China to southern China, southern China is typically a lot more hilly and more mountainous. So when they moved down to southern China, they had all this great architectural skills already. They didn't want to just abandon it, so they went ahead and kind of adapted to the landscape. So they wouldn't lose their great architecture that they had, and they just essentially adapted, and they're like, screw it, we're gonna go ahead and build on these mountains, and it turned out pretty nicely, actually. So yeah, just really impressed with how these looked. I thought it was awesome. I just, definitely thought we needed it for this habitat, especially since we had this lake right here. Just thought it was perfect positioning and everything. But yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll talk about the actual habitat for a moment. So the animal that we're going to go ahead and throw in here, since we're going to go ahead and be working in our Asian area, is going to be the red panda. So this is actually one of the habitats that I've been wanting to build for a long time now. During the beta, I was so sad that we didn't have the red panda, because I just wanted to play around with them and see how they interacted with the habits and all that, just because they're so darn cute. They're always one of my favorite things to see at our zoo as well. I always get really excited because they're typically pretty shy, so I get really excited when they come out, and it's really awesome to see them out and about and moving around. So I was really happy to get started on this exhibit. They're feisty little creatures though, because they keep escaping in this habitat. Once it's all said and done, I would just, after this time lapse is over, I throw them in there just to try to see where they can escape and what they can climb on, because they love to climb a lot. So they're escaping, they're getting into the flamingos habitats and all that. But I think for the most part, we got it all sorted out, and I was able to rope off and kind of secure the actual habitat so they don't escape anymore. But really just love how the animals move in the game. It's so awesome. Just how they kind of chirp at each other too. It's really cool. I was actually happy that they weren't as shy in the game as they are in real life. I was really worried that they may just sleep a lot, not do a whole lot, not move around a lot. But that doesn't really seem to be the case, which is nice. So yeah, so we basically got the basic structure of this building done. We're just throwing on the roof pieces now. I don't know if any of you guys are having issues with the edging of the tile edgings of these Asian roof pieces, but for some reason they don't want to seem to like line up. Like they're just like a millimeter off for some reason. I don't know if you can tell right now, but it took me forever to actually try to get these to line up because they just kept slightly going off no matter if I had the grid height at like 4 or 0 or 1 or 2 or the grid size at 2 or 4. There was always just something off about them, so I'm not sure if maybe it's the fact that I was working with the grid size too, and that just is kind of what was throwing them off there. But in a moment here we actually skip forward because we throw in a second building off to the right of this current building. So this building that we're building right now is actually going to be like the main hard shelter for the actual red panda, and then the building that we do to the right is going to be the keeper's entrance, so you can see right there. But that's basically going to do it for the time lapse for you guys. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump into real portion, and I'll show a little bit more of this exhibit off for you. See you guys in a second. Alright guys, and here we are on the real-time portion, so a little bit of a jump there from the time lapse. So just off the bat here, when you're walking into this little, I don't know what to keep calling. I want to keep calling it an entrance plaza, but it's really not an entrance plaza. It's more so our exit plaza, sort of. So you walk in, to the entrance, then you have an option to go left or you can go right. So yeah, so when you come to the fork in the road or whatever you want to call it, you can see right here these awesome stilted buildings here, just off to the right. I think that just lends itself so perfectly with this little opening of the trees there, and it just, the gap goes perfectly with that, and it just kind of draws your attention towards that, and it kind of makes you want to go over to the right a little bit more than what we have over to the left, especially right now. Not sure what we're going to do over to the left at the moment. I may do something similar. The goal is to try to draw your eye over here as well. Always want to try to have not necessarily a weenie, but some sort of, something to grab your attention, so that way it keeps you walking towards there, gives you reason to walk towards there. So yeah, let's go ahead and we'll start walking towards there, so that way we don't have to stare at it too long. Got some cliff work going underneath here, so not the best at rock work or planting, but I think every time I do some work with rocks or plants, I think I get a little bit better. But pretty happy with that so far. I just really love how those kind of jet out, and not the steel beams, the wooden beams just flow so perfectly. I think it looks so cool that how they just sit in the water there. And it also is really cool because it also doubles for some hard shelter for our flamingos as well. So they'll actually go over there. The land right there is pretty shallow, so they'll go over there and they'll sit underneath for a while. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll head on over to our first exhibit ever. So this is our bridge real quick. I'll give you a quick look at it. So like I said, it's not 100% done yet. Still need a little bit of detail, and I just went ahead and do this little line up here just for decoration. But we may change that. So yeah, so see, we still not finished. Still gotta transfer this stuff over here. So do a quick pass through real quick here, and we'll get to the good stuff. So here's our red panda exhibit. So really happy with how this looks. I think that just looks awesome with these two buildings together. It just looks so cool from a guest view as well. It just makes that forced perspective makes these look so much taller than what they really are. Ignore this little area right here. We're still going to come back and work on this. I just kind of wanted to focus on the actual habitat for this building here, or for this video at the moment. So we'll come back and we'll dress all the outer habitat up nicely in the future episode. But yeah, just really loving how these two buildings work together. And if you can see right here, I threw this little, it's supposed to look man-made and kind of out of place, but also kind of natural. So these little red pandas, there he is. There's our little guy right now. We got a male and a female in there. But they'll come up here and they'll walk up, and then they'll take a little snooze in there. I've seen these in a lot of red panda exhibits where they have just kind of little crevices up against stone walls where they can go in and take a snooze. Theirs are a lot smaller and a lot tighter. Unfortunately, due to game restrictions, we gotta kind of make it, the paths bigger so that way the animals don't get stuck just for game code and whatnot. So had to make it a little bit bigger than what I would have liked to have. But really happy with how that turned out. How you can definitely tell that it's artificial and it kind of is out of place, but it also kind of fits in with the area as well. So really happy with how those turned out. So yeah, so you can see here we got three separate door heights for our little red pandas to go in, and then they actually have this ramp up here where they can walk up and they can go and chill out up on this deck over here. We got little barriers right here and then right here as well, so they can't actually go around. My initial thought process was to have them go around, but they can actually climb up on these beams pretty well, unfortunately. And then they jump over into the flamingo pool. It's been an hour chasing those guys around, just trying to figure out where they're escaping. I think for the most part I got it all down. They may still escape at some point, but that's just something that we're going to have to come back and look at, just because I have so much wood. And just to try to stick, with the actual architecture of these buildings, I want to try to keep this wood in there. And unfortunately, most wood pieces are climbable. These little barrier pieces, I'm not sure what they're some sort of African piece, but they're just flipped and stacked on top of each other. They actually can't climb on those, so that's why we have these barrier pieces right there, so that way they can't climb up here. So they can climb up on this one, but they typically just kind of go up and around. What I'm worried is that they climb up and then they slide over and then they walk out here. I haven't seen that happen yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on them. That's really the only way that they can get around now and out. So yeah, they got their cool little this basic climbing structure here. I got this based off of my home zoo here in St. Louis. It's just really simple. They just have this broken log wooden tree thing that just walks up to this little I want to say plaza, but a platform. There we go, a little platform that's basically built around another dead tree, and just got this little shelter on it. Yeah, and they got some other ways to get up and down, but this is their main one that they use in the actual exhibit in the St. Louis Zoo. They constantly walk up and down, up and back around here. Their back wall is just basically a flat rock wall, and then over here to their left of their exhibit is where the red pandas go in and out. So they just do a formation where they go up and down, and then they go back inside the rock wall into their indoor exhibit, and then they keep coming back out. So that's their little pattern that they do there. But yeah, just really loving how this has turned out. It's not 100% done yet. I still need to do some more foliage and some rock work, I think, and just tidy a couple loose ends up here and there. But I definitely wanted to try to get this video out before Thanksgiving hit. Just because, we got a lot of family and friends coming and going, and just don't know when I'm going to have enough time to actually sit down, record, and play and all that. So I didn't want to go another whole week, without releasing a video here. So going to try to be able to play some a little bit. I just won't be able to actually, not sure if I'll get enough to record. I would like to be able to get another video out within the next week. Not next week, next couple of days before we go back to work on Monday after Thanksgiving. So that's the plan right now. Just kind of wanted to show this off for right now. Let's go ahead and we'll just walk up here. This is the staff path, so this obviously all needs to be touched up as well, and this needs to be hidden as well. And then we'll get some other utilities and whatnot up here also probably. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and we'll take a walk in here. They're delivering our female red panda now, and not sure why that's brick. We'll have to come in and change that also. But yeah, so we got a couple enrichment items right off the bat there for them, and then their food tray is. I thought their food tray was around here. Maybe I got rid of it. I don't know what I did with it. We'll find it later. But yeah, so it's really cool. They got these sloped levels here so they can walk up and down. They mostly just use this to get up and down, but they can't really get down in here too much. Most of that area is blocked off by this foliage where they can't access that, but they can walk up and down these levels, and then they can walk up here as well. Got a little bed up in there for them, so they'll go up and take a nap. Hey there, little buddy. And then yeah, just really awesome. Really like how this turned out here, and they can come up here and just wrap around. I don't think Tedgecam is going to let us do that, but yeah. Alrighty, let's go ahead and we'll exit out of here. But yeah, just there we go. That's basically the overview. Like I said, still got to touch up some things here and there, and that'll come after Thanksgiving probably, and we'll see the updates there in the next video. But yeah, super happy with how this turned out, so definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But that's going to about wrap up this episode, guys, so be sure to leave a like and a comment and let me know if you enjoyed something or if you didn't enjoy something. And of course, subscribe for more Planet Zoo content in the near future. Take care, guys. See you soon.